Perry Minasian is using the same talking points for this offseason like he did the last previous 5 off seasons. And we're here to tell you, hey, Perry, it's time to try something new.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and the #1 sports podcast network in all the land. Happy to be here. Glad you're here. Perry Minasian is saying the same thing that he said before every offseason and how the Angels are going to spin. So what's he saying? You probably already know, but we're going to share it with you. The Halos need a left-handed hitter, or at least that's what Perry says they need, because their lineup is so right-handed dominant. So who fits as a left-handed hitter in this Angel lineup? And what about center field? Can the Angels trust Joe Adell to improve in center field, or should they sign someone else, or should it be someone in-house? Before we talk about the Angels, we want to thank our sponsor, Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase.
Happy Monday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, it's our 4th off season as we enter 2026 very soon. We're just a month and a half away from the new year and a new season of Angels baseball. But before we get to all that, I want to thank you for being here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We're talking Angels baseball with you, especially through the offseason, because there's a lot to cover, isn't there, Mike?
Yeah, a lot of questions about the offseason. One of the big questions is how much will the Halos spend this offseason? Now, there's been 3 different reports, and then there were Perry Minasian comments. One of the reports was per Robert Murray of the Baseball Insiders podcast. He said that the Angels aren't expected to raise the payroll too much. He said, I don't think it's impossible that they may spend big, but I think it's more likely that they're going to spend in moderation, trying to upgrade the roster to get to a point of being a playoff team, which is why, and Robert's speaking here, I don't think that they'll move guys like Taylor Ward and Joe Adell. Then we saw a report that the Angels are going to spend, man. They're going to go and they're going to get players and they're going to make this roster better. And then we saw a report they're not going to spend it all. And so it just feels like we're always in that rumor and there's nothing of substance out there. And then Angels general manager Perry Minasian, when he was talking about what they're going to do to improve this team, he spoke specifically about starting pitching, and they're going to look for internal and external reinforcements. And then when he was asked about the budget, Perry said this: Arte and Moreno have always invested in this club. Every year they want to win. They're looking for ways to improve the club. I expect us to make some additions to improve.
I expect you to make additions too. You're missing half your roster to free agency and all that stuff. Yeah, you're going to make additions. What are you talking about? Ridiculous.
Yeah. John, let's play a game. Can we play a game?
Yeah.
What offseason did that quote come from? This one or one of the last 5 off seasons?
It's just copy and paste from the last 5 off seasons.
Right.
Mike.
It's the same one.
It's the same quote every single year. Arte and Carroll want to be competitive. They want to win. They want to invest in this club. Of course you invest in the club.
Yeah.
If you didn't spend any money in free agency or off season, then you'd be filling in the holes with guys from the minor leagues and stuff like that, which is not beyond them. However, I mean, it's silly. Like, yes. And I change my pants every day, right? Like that's like, yes, of course you're going to spend in free agency. Of course you're going to spend in the offseason. But to me, like, it's the same copy and paste statement that we hear all the time, Mike.
Ambiguity is the Angels front office friend. They love ambiguity with a little ambiguity, right? Like they love ambiguity with a little like, well, yeah, of course we're going to invest.
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious, right? Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it is of course we're going to invest. Of course Arte and Carroll want to do that.
Of course we're going to play baseball. What are you joking?
We're a baseball team. That's what we're going to do. They speak very ambiguous about things, but also speak in a way that feels a bit odd. Like, we would not expect you to sit on your hands and do nothing. We would expect you to move forward and try to do something. The problem is that Perry always speaks with kind of this cloak and dagger kind of idea, right? Like where it's going to be this, but we're not going to do this, but we're not going to tell you that we're not going to do this or what we're going to do. We're just going to affirm that Arte and Carol want to win. And we're just going to affirm that we're always going to improve this. Of course, we're going to improve this team. And that means we will spend some money, but it's never any clear, defined strategy of what they're going to do and what the budget might be. Like, for example, yeah, we have about $70 million to work with, according to what Arte has shared with me. And with the luxury tax, we're going to try to stay under the luxury tax, but we're also willing to go over that if we need to. But we have about $70 million to work with. So we're going to make sure that we can use every dollar to make an impact on this team and bring in the right players. I mean, that for me would be a much better answer than the same answer that he has given us the last 6 off seasons.
It's the company line, right? It's just towing the company line. It's literally the company line where Arte and Carol love to invest. They love to spend. They want to make this team better, and we want to improve. And the problem with that, and it goes back to your statement about ambiguity. Well, what's improvement, right?
Yeah.
Because it's always, we're going to try to be competitive. Well, that's not a definitive statement. We're going to improve this team. Well, that's not a definitive statement. What's your goal? Is it 500? Is it, hey, you know what? We had the worst record we've ever had 2 years ago. We don't want to go back there. We improved from that. However, it wasn't good enough. So we want to move beyond that to 500. We want to move beyond that to making a wild card spot. Like, we at least want to be in the conversation. There's never anything like that. And I know that not every team is that explicit about where they want to go, but a lot of other teams are. A lot of other big market teams are. Mike, we know the goal of the New York Yankees. We know the goal of the New York Mets. We know the goal of the Los Angeles Dodgers. We know it's playoffs. It's World Series. It's getting there. And it's not to say that the Angels shouldn't just sit here and say, well, obviously we want to go to the World Series. That's still ambiguous, because what are you going to do to get there? That's the big question. And that kind of turns into our next question. What's the offseason actually going to look like for the Angels, if you had to guess, Mike?
I'm gonna keep affirming that I think if they improve this team significantly, then it's gonna have to be improved through trades, because they're not going to go and spend money on some of these big name free agents. I don't think that they're willing to spend that money, nor do I think that they have the budget to spend that money. And I don't think they want to lock themselves into long-term deals with these big money free agents. And so I think that the best way to improve this team is through trades. But improve can also be very ambiguous. How are you improving it? And why are you improving it? I guess would be the more important question. Are you wanting to improve the minor league system for young guys so that you are better in 2 years, in 3 years, or are you going to try to be competitive this year? My gut would be that the Angels are going to try to be competitive this year. They didn't have Perry Minasian on a 1-year deal and Kurt Suzuki on a 1-year deal to suck. I think that they want to be good.
Yeah.
And so I think they're going to move in that direction. The problem is that they're going to sign a Yoan Moncada and tell us that that's a great move, instead of telling us, like, hey, this is within our budget. This is what we want to do. And this is how we're going to improve. We're going to use this money for here, and we're going to use this money for here. There's just no communication from the front office to fans. It's always just the same thing. So, John, if they're going to really improve this club and make a significant run, I think that they have to make some big time trades and get rid of some players that are dearly loved. Joe Adell, Taylor Ward mentioned there. Now, Robert Murray said, I don't think that they're going to trade them because they want to be competitive. And so the argument can be made that you wouldn't trade those pieces if you're going to try to make a playoff push, which I would agree with. But if they're really going to significantly make this team better, including getting good starting pitching, they're going to have to release themselves from hanging on to the players like a Taylor Ward that are only going to be around for a year. And then you're probably not going to re-sign that guy. He's going to go somewhere else, maybe get better money depending on what kind of year he has. And so I think that that's really what's going to happen. We're going to see some trades and we're going to see some moves that really make this team better. If I'm Perry Minasian and I'm trying to get into his brain, honestly, I don't see why they wouldn't just do what they've done the last few off seasons. Think 2023 when they got a bunch of players to try to make a push for the playoffs with Shohei in his last year. It might be something like that where it looks really good, but it's players that are kind of past their prime or past their
Gio Urshela's.
Yes, it'll be that. And so I wouldn't be surprised. Again, it's hard to nail it down because the Angels are so ambiguous in everything that they do.
Yeah, everything is really top heavy with this team, especially when it comes to, we got to improve the major league club and then they try to build, backfill the minor leagues with their draft picks, right? And that's the way that they've been operating, but it's also draft picks that they get there rather quickly. But everything with this team is very top heavy. We used to say that, it's stars and scrubs with Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, and then a bunch of guys we, didn't have very long or came off the scrap heap. Now they got a good group of guys and they kind of need someone to push them over the top, but it's still not going to be enough because they need depth. They need guys to fill in behind them that are capable bats, maybe not, the level of a Zach Neto, but somebody who can at least play the kind of defense that he plays when he needs an off day, or a true backup to Nolan Shonowell. Remember last year, it was just the fact that it was Kevin Newman. Like, maybe he could play first. Like, there was never really an answer for who's playing first base when Nolan Shonowell needs to take a day off, right? And there was never really an answer to that. And so, again, it comes back to the Angels are very top heavy in the sense that it's going to require more than one player to get this team right. Really what it comes down to, you've said it all along, and we've highlighted it many times on the show, is run prevention. The entire pitching staff needs improvement. That's not to say the offense doesn't need improvement. I'm more confident, though, Mike, that some good coaching can help these hitters get away from the all or nothing kind of swings they were taking at the plate than I am in the pitching, what they have so far being enough. Now, that's not to say I think Mike Maddox is going to vastly help Reed Detmers, Jose Soriano, all those guys. At the same time, though, go trade for Brady Singer. Go trade for another arm that's out there because you need them. You got to start somewhere. The free agent class. I mean, Tyler Mahle's a great pick, and so go spend in that direction. There are so many ways to improve. It's just that we never really drill down into what needs to improve. Like, they'll make suggestions. Yeah, we need a couple starters. We need a lefty. We maybe need some outfield help. We need a center fielder. And that's not even coming from the horse's mouth often. It's coming from reports. And like you said at the top of this segment, it's all ambiguous. We got 3 different reports saying 3 different things, and it just is uncertain how this offseason is going to go. We've made our picks for how we think it should go, but it just never seems that the Angels think in that direction, think in terms of what's really going to put this team over the top. It seems easy. Obviously, players have to want to be here. Players have to want to sign here, and you got to incentivize that. So with the amount of money they have to play with this offseason, I don't see a reason why you couldn't add a little incentive to what the Angels have going on this offseason. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, the Angels are searching for a lefty bat and who plays center field next season. We're going to get into those conversations in just a minute.
The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So even if you missed maybe the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It just keeps the game very exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com and sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and it's now the #1 sports podcast network out there. And that is thanks in part to our everydayers who join us every Monday through Friday. And the best part is when we get to interact with you. So check us out wherever you listen to podcasts. Of course, you can watch us on YouTube, on your smart TV. And whether you are watching or listening, come get into the comments section on YouTube. Find today's show. Get in the comments section. It's the best way to interact with us and other everydayers. You can also hit us up at Locked On Angels on Twitter, at Super Halo Bros on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. Share your thoughts on today's discussion.
One of the needs for the Angels in 2026, according to Perry Minasian, is a left-handed bat in this lineup. And that's not just Nolan Shonowell. They want to add to Nolan Shonowell. John's a left-handed hitter and a left-handed thrower. Play right field, John. Nolan Shonowell was the only player in the Angels lineup that had consistent production from the left side of the plate. The Angels had the second most right-on-right plate appearances in the majors last year, and that actually led to the reason why and played a role in the reason why they had a high strikeout rate.
Yeah,
a lot of
terrible average too.
Right-handed. Yes, not good at all. So Perry keeps bringing up this idea about a left-handed bat. And when he's asked about it, he said, well, I'm keeping my options open. He said adding that signing or trading for a left-handed hitter is a preference, but not a necessity. He said, is it the number one pressing need? Is it A on the checklist of things to do? No, but it is something that we've talked about a ton, and we want to be more balanced as an offense. So that's why they want to add a second left-handed bat to this lineup.
He said getting a left-handed hitting upgrade won't be easy. He said that's why he's not limiting himself. Perry said you're not just going to take a left-handed hitter because he's left-handed if you don't believe they can hit. That's the catch, right? It's not just left-handed, it's a left-handed bat that's productive. He also added, there's some really attractive right-handed hitters out there that I'd love to have. There are just good hitters, and I don't necessarily think anyone cares if they're right-handed or left-handed. So does it have to be left-handed? No. Apples to apples, of course. You choose the left hand over right-handed.
I feel like I just read like the encyclopedia there. I mean,
why are you contradicting yourself when you say like, we need a preference of a left-handed hitter? Oh, just because we had the worst batting average and strikeout rate and the second most right-on right hitters versus pitchers in the league last year. Like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Like, don't contradict yourself. Like, say, we really need a left-handed bat. Like, good hitters are good hitter. Yes, but you've got a lot of right-handed good hitters out there. But you have one true lefty, and that's Nolan Shawnuel. Everybody else was a switch hitter. Yohan Moncada, even though he really couldn't switch hit for most of the season because he was hurt. And then Luis Rengifo was your only other option in terms of left-handed hitters. So to me, go get a lefty. Of course you got to go get a lefty. It just feels like they play this game where they don't want to show their hand or anything like that. Like, maybe he's afraid that if he says, oh, we need a left-handed bat, that Scott Boris's antennae are going to raise up out of his ears and go, ooh, well, I'm going to play the Angels versus the Yankees for Cody Bellinger. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think he's afraid. I hate the coyness, Mike. I hate coy. I'm not being coy. He's like Newman on Seinfeld.
Speaking of Seinfeld, that whole quote felt like David and Beth Lookner from Seinfeld. Am I sorry that Beth left me? Yes. Am I willing to pick up the pieces and move on? Absolutely. Right. Like I feel like he's asking himself questions and then answering like he's not even being interviewed. It just feels odd. It feels odd every time he speaks to the media. Now, there are 3 really good left-handed hitters on the market: Kyle Schwarber, Kyle Tucker, and Cody Bellinger. Probably not going to be those guys for the Angels.
Tell me the next ones, Mike.
Yeah. The second tier are Trent Grisham, Cedric Mullins, and Adam Frazier. Now,
and
Mullins and Frazier were below average hitters in 2025. They're not going to be a great addition to this lineup, at least based off of their track record,
and
right?
What have I joked about since before the season was over? We're going to sign Adam Frazier, and you're going to like it. That's what's going to happen.
Right. Now, the Halos have been linked in rumors to trading with the Cardinals. Nolan Gorman is a name that has come up. And then, John, you've mentioned Brendan Donovan as a potential trade. But, again, they're going to have to make a trade in order to get one of those guys. John, how do the Halos add a left-handed bat? Do you think that it's going to be a signing? Do you think that it is going to be a trade? Or do you think it might be someone in-house? And Nelson Rada would be an example. Young, but Nelson Rada would be an example of a left-handed hitter. He's an outfielder, so they'd have to discuss, like, is there room for him, right? There's a lot of factors to that. So signing, trade, or someone in-house, how does a left-handed bat find its way into this lineup?
You already know what I want to do. I want to trade for Brendan Donovan because I think he solves the third base problem.
Yeah.
He's a contact guy. He solves a lot of issues that the Angels have had offensively, whether it's strikeout rate, batting average, on base percentage, all that stuff, Mike. It's right there in front of you, and you just got to figure out a way to get it done. This guy would add so much to your lineup just by his presence alone. He ticks a lot of boxes that the Angels need to improve upon, including, the giant hole on the left side of the infield, right? It just seems like if I were Perry Minasian, I'd be putting all of my eggs in that basket, but it's not my job, unfortunately. What I think they're going to do is a Cedric Mullins type. Adam Frazier, Cedric Mullins on that tier, right? You got to really hope for a bounce back from Cedric Mullins. You got to really hope that Adam Frazier still got it, right? And Adam Frazier's been playing like second fiddle to a lot of starters the last couple of years. Like, and so are we going to take this guy and make him a full-time starter in the lineup for the Angels? Well, that seems to be their MO very often, is taking guys who might be the backup to somebody and giving them a full-time role.
Yeah.
I know they kind of did that out of necessity to start the season with Kevin Newman because Zach Neto was gone. But the truth is, Newman was a much better off-the-bench guy before he ever got to the Angels. He was great with the Diamondbacks and the Pirates before that. And so just for him to fall completely off the face of the earth, I mean, it obviously has something to do with him, but it also has something to do with the way he was being coached or the approach that they wanted him to take at the plate, right?
Yeah.
So I'm fearful it's going to be that level of guy. Cedric Mullins really got to hope for a bounce back, and then it's going to blow up in their faces because I don't know. There's no coming back from that sometimes. I really don't think that Cedric Mullins is the answer, but I fear it's going to be that type of guy.
Yeah, and they also have to think about who the hitting coach is going to be, because if they bring in someone who has a certain way of swinging the bat, and then the hitting coach is going to go by Perry's philosophy of the last 5 years, power and strikeouts, then it's going to mess up whoever comes in. And you mentioned Kevin Newman. It really messed him up because he was not a bad hitter, John, when he was with Arizona. He was not a bad hitter with the previous teams, and then suddenly couldn't do anything with the Angels because of the approach that they were teaching. And so I think you bring in someone like a Cedric Mullins and an Adam Frazier who probably need a tweak, who probably need an adjustment because they've had some down years, and it's been consistent in their history. But I do think that that's unfortunately where the Angels land often, is that they're going to get somebody and cross their fingers and hope that they're going to be a bounce back. And I think the pushback from a lot of fans would be, well, that's all that we can get as an Angels team because of where we're at. I don't necessarily think so. I think that we could spend the money and get some really good players, but that always seems to be off the table when you start talking about the Angels and Arte Moreno.
Can I bring up a family thing for a second?
Sure.
I'm sure our mom is not the only one to do this, but whenever there was a toy or maybe like a food item at the grocery store or the toy store, mom would always say, reach for the back, get the one behind the one. Like say it was an action figure, right? Spider-Man action figure.
Yeah.
This one's been played with and touched. Get one from the back, right?
Yeah.
And so we do that. Mike, the Angels need to get one from the back. Like Cedric Mullins is in the front. Yep. Adam Frazier is in the front of the display. Like do a little work and reach for one in the back. Brendan Donovan is the one in the back that's pristine, that hasn't been touched a million times by a lot of people walking by and playing with the Spider-Man toy, that sort of thing. Like, just do a little work, try to get something done. And if you pull this trade off, or it doesn't even have to be Donovan, right? Like, pull something off for once. Like, make something happen.
Yeah,
make something good happen. I'm with you on the hitting coach, and what's the philosophy of the hitting coach going to be that Perry Minasian hires? My hope is that in the same way that they got a Mike Maddox and a John Gibbons on the bench, right? Like hire one of those dudes that's been around the block for a long time. And then Perry, just leave, just stay out of it. Don't interfere.
Yeah.
We don't need to continue to pursue, max exit velo for every single guy on this team. Some guys do. I love to see Joe Adell crush the ball because that's part of what makes Joe Adell good, is being able to crush the ball. But you know what else makes him good? Going the opposite way. Logan O'Hoppe needs to go the opposite way and hit doubles into the gap and run all day long. He can do it. He was just being told not to do it, or being told something else, and something changed and some sort of emphasis came down from on high. Because remember last year, Ron Washington spoke about Mickey Moniak and Joe Adell and said, hey guys, you don't need to crush the ball every time. You just need to hit it the other way. You got enough power where, hey, if you get a good swing on it, you'll hit it out. Somewhere along the line that changed, because the Johnny Washington of 2025 looked a lot different than Johnny Washington of 2024. That being said, whoever comes in, this makes a huge difference. And again, reach for the back, do something, do something different than what you've been doing the last 5 off seasons.
Getting tickets to any sporting event can be a hassle. There's queues, login screens, prices jumping at checkout. It can be super frustrating. And that's why you should use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to you, the fan. Game Time is fast, it's easy, and it's backed by the Game Time guarantee. You're always going to get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. And honestly, it's faster and cheaper and less stressful than any other way that you will buy tickets. So download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. There are some terms that do apply. And again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. Download the Game Time app today.
Perry Minasian was asked about the outfield at the GM meetings last week, and he specifically spoke about the crowded outfield because you've got Joe Adell, Bryce Teodosio, Mike Trout, Jorge Soler, right? You've got Taylor Ward as well. And so there's a number of guys who can play the field. Some do it better than others. And specifically, he mentioned that we've got some guys that we feel like are really impact offensive players that can play the outfield. And we've got some other guys that could be impactful on the defensive side and really impactful on the defensive side. So the question is, more rhetorical questions from Perry, by the way, do you want to score more runs and play offense, or do you want to prevent more runs and play defense? What are you giving up, and vice versa? So the question, Mike, what should be the priority here? Scoring runs or run prevention on defense?
I think it should be run prevention. I think that scoring runs is something that they'll be able to figure out with the bats that they have in the lineup. And so I would go with run prevention and play some defense, especially behind my fly ball pitchers who need a good outfield, and my ground ball pitcher and Jose Soriano who needs a good infield. I would want to go with somebody that's going to go and get that ball and going to go into the gap and going to dive. I mean, Bryce Teodosio in a small sample size had 10 defensive runs saved. So this guy is a great glove. Yes, he's got to pick it up. Yes, he's got to pick up the offense, and that really keeps him in the lineup. But if I'm Perry, I'm prioritizing defense over offense, because if I'm going to keep Ward and if I'm going to keep Adell and I'm going to have Mike Trout and Soler switching off, then I'm figuring out who's going to be on the bench and who's going to be in the outfield. And I'm also trusting that my big guys, big bats are going to come through when needed and when necessary.
Yeah, it feels like a situation where if you just match up the kinds of pitchers you have with the kind of defense you need, feels like a Teodosio, Mike, even I know we'll talk about him in a second, even a Nelson Rada. And there was a great comment from an everydayer, and I can't remember if it was on YouTube or on Twitter. And if it was you, please let me know and I'll give you a shout out. But they said, look, if you're going to roll with Teodosio and his 200, 210 batting average.
Right. Yeah.
You might as well give it to Nelson Rada in center field and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? Like, is that so wrong? Because it kind of makes sense to me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it does, because he also brings a potential base stealing threat. He brings a potential leadoff hitter for you, or number 9 hitter.
And he's hitting well in the minor leagues too, from AA to AAA. Yeah.
And if you're going to give the young guys a shot, then give him a shot. Maybe they're just trying to save him as trade bait or letting him develop, which is very unusual for the Angels. Now, right now, the outfield is Ward, Adell, and some version of Trout and Soler, but it's not a great defensive lineup, and Perry recognizes that. And he also recognizes that the health of Trout and Soler is going to be a factor in his decision-making. He's just not sure who's going to be out there, and he's not sure how long they can be out there. And it's why he's not considering, or eager at least, to trade Ward or Adell. He said, we've seen it over the last couple of years. You need as much depth as possible, and not just depth, but quality depth.
All right. Well, at least he understands that. Like,
yeah.
I'm Perry said something that I'm like, okay, there you go.
You're on the right track, bud.
Yeah.
He also was asked about Bryce Teodosio and where he'll be, and he said he's always one of those wow defenders. I think if you ask the pitcher that were on our team, they'd love to see him play behind him, because he was so good. Now, he said he wants to see Bryce improve offensively, just hit 203 with a 5.53 OPS in the last 2 months of 2025. And then Johnny spoke about your boy, Joe Adell, and he said they haven't given up on Joe being a good defender, which I think is kind of a silly statement, because he was a good defender 2
Yeah.
years ago in right field.
Yeah.
And then they moved him to center field because they didn't have an option. Now, he said that Joe's met a lot of challenges and that maybe a lot of people didn't think that he would meet those challenges, but his failure, quote unquote, in center field is what the Angels, according to Perry, it's what prompted the Angels to bring up Bryce Teodosio. But I wouldn't even call it a failure. I would just say, like, he's filling in for you, bud. Like, he's doing the best that he can.
It wasn't his failure. It was your failure for not having a true center fielder on this team.
Yeah, and then trying to figure it out with Joe Adell after a great year in right field. Now, John, you brought up Nelson Rada. Perry did speak about Nelson Rada too, didn't he?
He did. He said he'll be in big league camp, and I'm not ruling anything out. They don't check IDs in the dugout, so if you can play and you're going to help us win games, we'll take a look. And he said that joke because Rada is 20 years old.
Yeah.
He's one of the youngest players in the minors last year. He finished last season at AAA. He hit .292 with a .758 OPS at AA and AAA. So the big question, Mike, and kind of going back to what I said earlier, if you need somebody in center field and you go in-house, is it Teodosio or is it Nelson Rada? You kind of know my opinion. What about your opinion?
I would go with Rada, but I think Perry's going to go with Bryce. And the reason why I think he's going to go with Bryce is because he's seen Bryce play and they want to give him an extra shot. I think they want to give him more time. I hope, John, Nelson Rada comes into spring training and then just goes nuts. I hope he goes nuts because I don't think outside of that, he makes this roster for the Angels. I think they're going to let him be in AAA for a bit and then maybe figure out what they want to do with him as the season moves along, depending on injuries or if they do trade somebody. But why not give Nelson Rada a shot? I'm with you. I'm with that everydayer that said that because he's somebody that is got a high ceiling that we haven't seen yet. And if you're going to give Bryce Teodosio an opportunity, not just to play defense, but swing the bat, and he's not going to be great, then why not give Nelson Rada the opportunity to swing the bat and maybe have him not be great, unless they're trying to protect him and unless they want him to develop a little bit more. But again, they've brought up these other guys that were fantastic. I guess we don't know Nelson like they know Nelson, but why not just give him an opportunity? This is why, again, I go back to, I would love to see him just go nuts in spring training so that it gives the Angels a confident thumbs up that this guy's ready.
You know, when Perry says, I want to see Bryce improve offensively, well, we all do, right? So how are you going to get that done?
Yeah.
Are you going to bring in a hitting coach that's not going to try to make him Mike Trout or Taylor Ward? Like, let Bryce be Bryce, right? I think that's the issue with this lineup. We've said it 1,000 times. We'll probably say it 1,000 more times. The issue with this lineup is that each individual hitter has to play to their individual strengths. Not everybody can swing it like Mike Trout. Not everybody can swing it like Joe Adell. So stop trying to make everybody the same copy and paste hitter at the plate. So, Mike, if they want Teodosio to improve, what does Teodosio do well, right? It's hey, he can get that bunt down and probably sneak in a bunt single because he's that fast, right?
Yeah.
We've seen him, hit some stuff into the gap or hit, a lazy hit into for a single between second and right field. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, yeah, you realize what the issues are, but how are you going to improve them? And the biggest thing for me is, are you going to stay out of it? Because if you hire somebody to do the job, then let them do their job and don't try to make everybody something that they're not.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Be sure to like and subscribe while you're here. It's the best way to stay updated on all things Angels throughout the offseason.
Hey, one more time, catch us at Locked On Angels on Twitter, at Super Halo Bros on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for any late breaking news. Of course, we'll have that for you in our immediate responses. Mike, what do we have on deck when we come back for Tuesday's show?
The big question is, will Reed Detmers meet the moment and be the pitcher that he was projected to be now that he's going to be back in the starting rotation? That's the big question. We're going to bring some answers and what it'll take tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
I really want Detmers to be good. Can he just be good?
Yes.
I really want him to be good.
Yep. Yep.
All right, friends. We hope you'll come back and join us for that. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
All right. For all you sickos, including us, who love this team despite everything they do to us, and for all the everydayers who love to watch and listen, we'll see you back here on Tuesday.
Please be good. 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 Please be good.